So you would like my continued donations to your campaign. And what I would like to provide is a little editorial, a little opinion about how things are going. Well, welcome to Dale Byron on Poetry. That's the message that I want to give to some political operatives that are still asking for my money. And though some of them I respect, I want them to know that I feel like there is a deep, deep challenge that's happening in our political system now. And I want to try to address it with a poem. I was actually asked literally again several times to continue donating to several candidates that now that the election is 2 or 3 weeks past. And so I wanted to say, no, I'm not going to send more money, but I wanted to do so with a little more context, with a little more flair than just, unsubscribing. So I wrote this piece. This piece came to me, and I intended for it not to be strident, not to be angry, but to simply give my opinion. So the title of this poem is called Please, Won't You Tell Us Why You're Unsubscribing from our campaign? Let me try that again. Please, won't you tell us why you're unsubscribing from our campaign? And of course, this is the question that I was being asked as I decided to get off the list of their campaign donation requests. So I started the poem with a quote by U.S. Senator Fred Harris, who's just died in his 90s, as a matter of fact, an amazing person. And his quote from back in the 70s was, that far back, was the fundamental problem, and he's talking about in American politics, the fundamental problem is that too few people have all the money and power. Too few people have all the money and power, and everybody else has very little of either. Again, U.S. Senator Fred Harris, who has just passed away a day or so ago. What's interesting is this was all the way back in the mid 70s, and he was saying what has become incredibly true, in my opinion, these days, even more so in our modern political world in the United States. Here's how the poem goes. Please, won't you tell us why you're unsubscribing from our campaign? And I said it like this. Yes, well, mainly because you are chopping at the branches, ignoring the rot at the root of our democracy, which is money, which is money. I mean cash, the unfettered, corrupting superfact of our times. It is the golden leash. It is the golden leash that tugs even the powerful back in line. It is the harvesting of billionaire and big corporate money that corrodes directly or indirectly, forever turning our world into a frustrating, unresponsive, hot mess for the average citizen. I am unsubscribing because even farther upstream lies the bigger cause behind the cause, a whale-sized wealth inequality, a cultural context giving birth to all these bloated corporations, and the 1%ers with their cartoonish wealth having become a lead weight on the scales of our justice, capturing the government, the unseen parasites of our sad time. And I am unsubscribing because you first unsubscribed from me. I will unsubscribe, yet still hold to a thin yet precious hope. I will unsubscribe, yet still hold to a thin yet precious hope that if we embrace the truth, well, hey, there's a way to change it. And yes, because even politicians of good faith, perhaps like you, perhaps like you, who want it different, but who are also trapped inside a bad story and structure that is growing ever more tragic. And yes, because writing is my favorite flavor of free speech. And yes, because writing is my favorite flavor of free speech. And because new stories have always changed the world. And because I refuse cynicism and despair, mostly, mostly. Because if I did not think change was possible, because if I did not think that change was possible, and change means see above in the poem, better stories, and change means see above better stories. I would simply grow 1, sad, 2, sullen, and 3, silent. And while I may at times inhabit these first 2 states, I'll not indulge the last. I would simply grow if I didn't think change was possible, says the poem. I would simply grow 1, sad, 2, sullen, and 3, silent. 3, silent. And while I may at times inhabit these first 2 states, I'll not indulge the last. I'll not indulge the last. So there is my recently written poem called Please Won't You Tell Us Why You're Unsubscribing from Our Campaign, because I wanted to use poetry and with its imagery, with its metaphors and language. I wanted to do that, to say that I believe what this quote says, that the fundamental problem is that too few people have all the money and power, and everybody else has very little of either, And I wanted to say that in a way that wasn't strident and angry, but was also sure of itself, and wanted to bring forth this simple narrative to say, this is the challenge we are facing. This is what we need to address if we're going, in my opinion, to have our politics become more sane, more democratic, and more hopeful in many ways. Thank you for your listening ear. Until next time and next poem, take good care of yourself. If you know somebody that you think might appreciate this approach to poetry, then pass the podcast along to them. And again, thank you so much for your listening ear. Until next time and next poem, please take good care of yourself, and if you can, someone else.